Alright guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. I hope you're all well. So something a little bit different in this video. I've been getting quite a few questions about the signal chain that I use when I'm at home doing videos like this or any other gear demo. I normally say something like I'm using the Capital Chambers reverb, or I'm getting my reverb or delay from the Universal Audio Apollo 8P. Or sometimes I get it from the aux box itself, or sometimes I use my DAW reverb and delays and stuff. So I thought in this video it would be cool to show you a couple of different signal chains that I use that are software based, if you know what I mean, rather than using pedals. Because sometimes if you've just got a laptop with an interface and you haven't got any pedals on you, there's a couple of good approaches here that could give you the kind of ambient sort of sound that I like to get when I'm doing that kind of music. So I've got a screen share at the minute, so you should be able to see that on screen now. Let me explain really quickly what's happening in Logic right now. Obviously this is my speech mic, and then below that I've got my aux, and then I've got my Capital Chambers reverb and my Galaxy Tape Echo, which are the two that's the plugins that I use when I'm sending them to their own auxes, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then beneath that I've got the Space Designer reverb that you can get in Logic. It comes with Logic, and then a tape delay that comes in Logic, and I've dialed them in to sound how I'd like them to sound, and I'll show you how I do that too. So really quickly, let's just do the guitar. This is the aux straight in. This is my V30 cab. I'm using this Mayonnaise, and this is what we've got. Just to mention, there's a little bit of compression in the front from my pedal board, and some EQ as well. But that's how that sounds. So the first thing that I'll show you is the reverb and delay inside aux that I sometimes use. So let me just turn them both on. Get a bit more reverb in there. So you can kind of hear how that sounds. Again, that's just a general kind of tone that I dial in, like quite high on the decay, a bit less bass, a bit less treble, and then I usually just mix it in how I like. But that's just in the aux. So that's one way of doing it. If you've got an aux, then you know that's one way of doing it. But really, I wanted to focus on the plugin that I use within the Universal Audio Apollo 8P interface, but then also the one that I use inside my DAW as well. So that's the aux. That's, if you've got an aux, really useful that you've got those features. But in this video I wanted to focus on how I use a couple of plugins and the DAW stuff as well, the built-in stuff. So we'll start with my go-to plugins for my ambient tones that you've been asking about, and that's the UAD Capital Chambers reverb and the Galaxy Tape Echo. And basically my signal goes from my aux into my interface, and then in there basically I send that signal to an aux send or a bus, or however you want to define it, but basically sending that signal to another channel where I add the reverb and delay as a full wet signal, so it's just giving me the reverb, the reverberations and the delays of my guitar, and then I blend that back in with my dry signal. What you're seeing in Logic, what's being recorded is basically I'm recording in the reverb and delay that you're hearing, the Capital Chambers and the Galaxy Tape Echo. But they're both amazing plugins, and to use them together sounds really, really cool. So let me show you what it sounds like. So as you can hear, it sounds absolutely awesome. I've got it set up for like the sound that I go for. There's loads you can do with it. Like I said, I don't want to go into too much detail on the plugins as such. It's more just one method of what I would do. So if you've got your own reverb plugins that you like to use, anything like, I don't know, Sound Toys or any of the UAD stuff, basically, or even the Valhalla stuff's great. If you've got any reverb plugins that you like, that you use when you mix or whatever, you can load them up and send them, send your dry signal to them and blend them in. That's a really cool way of doing it. And then, of course, if you're using something like the Universal Audio stuff, you can also write that data in, which is what I'm doing here. And I'm sure you can do that with plenty of other interfaces using their mix engines that you can control outside of your DAW and route everything through. So now what I want to show you, if you don't use UAD stuff and you don't have any of this gear, you just have your DAW, guitar, amp, load box like interface, or mics or whatever, this is a cool way of getting really nice ambient, high quality reverb and delay tones inside your DAW. So if you use something like Logic or Cubase, Pro Tools, they'll have built-in reverbs and you can tailor make them to how you want them to sound. So I'm just going to mute Capital Chambers and the Galaxy Tape Echo, and I'm going to unmute the delay and the space designer. Now these are two completely free with Logic built-in plugins that you can get, like they come with it. Basically this is what it is. It's called Ulm Nave, and you can find that if you go into like the large holes. It's down at the bottom. It's a massive 10.7 second decay reverb. I just found it one day years ago and I fell in love with it. I also tweak it. It usually loads up like that, and then I tweak it to something like about here, put full wet. And then you've got an output EQ, which is really useful because you can go in and you can EQ the exact sound of the reverb exactly how you want. So I've pulled out a bit of low, a bit of high, I've boosted a bit of the high mids and tamed some of the zinginess as well. And then the delay, it's just a tape delay. Minimal, well, sort of fairly minimal feedback. A bit of modulation in there. I've pulled out a bit of the high end. Just tried to make it sound like a nice warm analog kind of delay. So anyway, this is how it sounds. So as you can quite clearly hear, the sound of the reverb and delay that you can get just from Logic is absolutely awesome, in my opinion. I've used that for years before I even started using the Universal Audio stuff or had an aux box. When I got a load box years ago, the Torpedo Live, or if you use a Captor or anything like that, or you can get a DI signal, or even if you use a software plugin, you can route it so that you can get you can send it to its own channel and load these plugins and get that kind of sound. So, considering that the dry signal is just this. So yeah, as you could quite clearly hear, it sounds awesome. And I'm pretty sure that any other DAW has great sounding reverb and delays in it too. So if they do, or if whatever it is you use, take a look and see if you can find anything. Just to touch really quickly on how it's routed. Basically, in my Universal Audio console, which is where all my inputs come in, if I get rid of these plugins for a second, I've got my aux running in to channels 17 and 18, which that's specific to me. But basically what it is, as you can see here, if I open up my sends, I've got two sends here, aux 1 and aux 2. These aux 1 is my reverb, aux 2 is my delay. And in my auxes window, which is just this little one here, there is my Capital Chambers and my Galaxy Tape Echo. And you can blend them basically. And then if I go into my routing, I can send aux 1 and aux 2 as, let's say, out 21, 22, 23, 24, because it's left, right. And then I route those into Logic. So I set up channels in Logic as 21, 22, 23, and 24, the stereo tracks. And then I've basically got my reverb and delay coming from the interface into Logic. As you can see, it's being written in as audio, as if it was an actual tape echo and reverb unit outboard gear. So it's very cool that you can do that. It's basically the same thing I'm doing in Logic. So if we look really quickly in Logic, you can see my aux channel is here, and then I've set up bus 1 and bus 2, and then you've got a little wheel here that tells you how much you want to send. And then, as you can see, bus 1, bus 2, and then I've got my reverb and my delay, and then I've got level of them here. The reason I've latched them is purposefully for the video, so it's recording the movements of the faders and what I'm doing with the plugins. But other than that, that's basically it. So hopefully that made sense. It's kind of hard to work out how to do videos like this, but so many people asked, and I just thought it would be interesting to some of you if you do a lot of work inside a DAW. So yeah, if you think this is cool, if you like this format of video, then please comment in the comment section below and let me know what you'd like to see next time. I'm going to do some stuff with Neural DSP plugins because they're awesome and you can get lots of different tones. So I figured like different tones of different styles of music using those plugins. If you'd like to see that, let me know. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section, like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all very soon.